Okay, Laura, I've been doing the belief work. I'm shifting my thoughts and feelings, but sometimes it still feels like I'm just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Where is the actual engine of change? Where do events come from before they show up in my life?
Framework 2 is the medium in which your world exists. It represents the vaster psychological reality.
Wow. I think about that statement a lot.
Right. It's so dense. But welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. We have a very specific and, frankly, completely paradigm-shifting mission for you today.
Yeah, we are exploring the creative matrix behind all physical events. We're, looking for the hidden architecture of how things actually happen before you ever see them, touch them, or experience them in your day-to-day life.
Exactly. We're pulling this directly from the incredibly profound, channeled material of Jane Roberts, specifically looking at Seth's work in the unknown reality and the nature of personal
And
reality.
some of the matrix stuff from dreams, evolution, and value fulfillment, right?
Yes, exactly. And our promise to you is that by the end of this deep dive, we aren't just leaving you with abstract metaphysical philosophy. You're going to learn a highly practical, surprisingly simple technique to stop forcing outcomes.
Which is huge, because you're going to learn how to actively work with this invisible creative source instead of constantly fighting against it.
And that's desperately needed, I think, because, we all know exactly how it feels to be incredibly frustrated trying to micromanage every single detail of a project or a relationship or a career
Oh,
transition.
yeah. Or just like life in general. You push, you hustle, you try to aggressively force the pieces into place.
You send the follow-up emails, you manipulate the logistics, and usually you just end up exhausted and right back where you started.
Totally burnt out. And Seth's diagnosis of this exhaustion, it comes down to a vital, fundamental distinction between two completely different environments.
Yeah, Framework 1 and Framework 2. To understand why we get so tired, we have to understand where we are standing when we try to make changes. So let's start by mapping out Framework 1. Okay, let's do it.
This is our everyday physical world. It is the world of time, space, and dense matter. It's strictly linear.
Meaning like you experience one moment and then the next moment follows.
Right. You wake up, you drink your coffee, you sit in traffic, you go to work. Framework 1 is the conscious reality where we experience the results of our inner work. It is fundamentally the world of effects.
The world of effects, I feel like that phrase alone explains like 90% of human frustration.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we spend almost all of our waking energy trying to change the effects, while physically standing inside the world of effects. It feels like trying to change the reflection in a mirror by desperately painting the glass.
That's a perfect analogy. Or trying to change the plot of a movie by yelling at the cinema screen.
Right, you're just screaming at the projected image.
Exactly. Framework 1 is the final product. And that brings us to Framework 2. If Framework 1 is the world of effects, Framework 2 is the world of causes.
Okay, so what exactly is over there in the world of causes? It is the inner non-physical reality of pure consciousness, of belief, of emotion, and of raw creative energy.
Like the blueprint stage.
Yes. Seth describes it in the unknown reality as a vast mental studio. It's the backstage environment where all the details, the unexplained coincidences, and the blueprints of your life are arranged and negotiated before they ever solidify into physical form.
You call it a mental studio, but I want to push on that for a second.
Here, go for it.
Because when we say mental studio, it sounds like we're just talking about imagination, like I'm just daydreaming in my own isolated head. But Seth is arguing that Framework 2 is an actual objective environment, right?
Yes, that is a crucial distinction. It's not just your personal imagination. Framework 2 is not a fantasy realm occurring inside your skull.
So it's real.
Very real. In Seth's metaphysics, consciousness is the fundamental fabric of reality. Matter doesn't create consciousness. Consciousness creates matter. So Framework 2 is the shared medium where every consciousness interacts.
Wait, so when I hold a strong emotion, or when I actively shift a deeply held belief, I'm not just having a private psychological moment.
No, not at all.
But yeah.
You are actively performing work inside that shared studio. You are manipulating the raw materials of reality.
Okay, well, if I am manipulating the raw materials of reality just by holding a belief, we run face first into the most obvious human problem, which is time.
Yes, the impatience factor.
Right. Because my physical brain is relentlessly focused on the Framework 1 movie screen. And when I change my belief on Tuesday, but the physical reality on my screen doesn't change by Wednesday, I panic.
Of course you do. We all do.
Which brings up the concept of lag time. If Framework 2 is where all events are formed, why don't my physical results show up instantly?
To answer that, we have to completely strip away our everyday assumptions about how time functions. We have to look at how the unknown reality defines the environment of Framework 2.
Okay, so how does time work over there?
Over there, time does not flow in a straight line. Everything exists simultaneously in what Seth calls the spacious present.
The spacious present? So past, present, and future probabilities are all accessible at once.
Exactly. But Framework 1, our physical world, is specifically governed by the root assumptions of linear time and physical space. It's a localized learning environment.
Which means there has to be a translation process, right, between the simultaneous studio and the linear movie screen.
Exactly that. The delay between an inner shift in Framework 2 and an outer manifestation in Framework 1 is simply the mechanical time it takes for Framework 2 to organize the necessary physical components.
Organize the physical components. I mean, think about the sheer volume of data involved in manifesting a seemingly simple event.
Oh, it's mind-boggling.
Like, say, running into an old friend who happens to have a job offer for you. Framework 2 has to calculate infinite probabilities.
Right. It has to coordinate atoms and molecules. It has to orchestrate the serendipitous intersections of multiple people.
All of whom have their own free will, their own desires and their own complex, unfolding timelines.
Exactly. I mean, I was trying to wrap my head around this kind of massive coordination, and it made me think of a GPS routing algorithm.
Oh, I like that. How so?
If I'm driving from New York to Los Angeles, Framework 1 is me holding the steering wheel. I can only see the road directly in front of my windshield. I can maybe see 100 feet ahead.
Right. Your physical senses are very limited.
But Framework 2 is a GPS satellite network in orbit. It sees the entire continent simultaneously. It sees the traffic jam forming in Ohio. It sees the road closure in Colorado.
And it is calculating millions of alternate routes in a fraction of a second without your conscious mind having to do any of the math.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Your conscious mind, your ego, is the driver. It's excellent at steering the car and avoiding the immediate potholes.
Yeah, the ego is good at, noticing the physical danger right in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is entirely unequipped to calculate the millions of variables happening 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
When you try to force an outcome in Framework 1, it's like ignoring the GPS, driving straight into a closed highway, and then getting out of the car to manually move the concrete barricades yourself.
Which is exactly what we do. We bang our heads against the concrete barricades and call it hard work.
We celebrate it even. We glorify the struggle.
We really do. But earlier you mentioned that the energy from Framework 2 actually has to be translated. You said the raw psychic energy has to be stepped down into electromagnetic frequencies that our physical senses can actually perceive.
Yes.
Wait, step down into electromagnetic frequencies? What does that actually mean in practice? Are we talking about literal physics here, or is that just a metaphor for feeling good?
No, we are talking about mechanics. And Seth is quite literal about this in The Nature of Personal Reality. Thoughts and emotions are not just abstract concepts. They possess actual, measurable, energetic validity.
Okay, so they're real energy.
Yes. Seth calls these original impulses consciousness units, or CUs. They are the building blocks of all reality, existing beneath the level of physical matter.
Beneath the atoms.
Right. For a thought in Framework 2 to become a physical chair, or a physical job offer, or even a physical illness in Framework 1, that pure multidimensional energy has to be slowed down.
Slowed down by what?
By your physical organism. Your brain and your nervous system act as a reducing valve.
A reducing valve, like stepping down voltage.
Exactly. They filter this massive, overwhelming influx of multidimensional data and step it down into the specific electromagnetic frequencies that your physical eyes can see and your physical hands can touch.
So the lag time you experience is literally the gestation period required for non-physical energy to condense.
Yes. It takes time to gather the necessary physical atoms and materialize in a format your 3D brain can process without overloading.
Wow. So the delay isn't the universe saying no to you.
Not at all. It's just the mechanics of coalescing psychic energy into dense matter.
So it's not about forcing or obsessing. It's about feeling it done and letting go.
Exactly. The forcing happens in Framework 1. The creating happens in Framework 2. Your job is the feeling. The how is handled by a deeper intelligence.
I hear that, but I have to play the skeptic here for a second.
Please do.
Because it sounds dangerously close to toxic positivity or just pure passivity. If I just generate the feeling and then completely let go of the steering wheel, How is that any different from sitting on my couch, refusing to participate in life, and expecting rent money to miraculously fall from the ceiling?
That is the most common pitfall when interpreting this material. It's a vital distinction to make. Trusting Framework 2 does not mean paralysis in Framework 1.
Right, because we are still physical beings.
Exactly. You are still physical, and you are here to take physical action. The difference is the quality and the origin of that action.
Okay, unpack the difference for me. What does that look like?
Forcing action is driven by panic. It's rooted in the belief that if you don't micromanage every detail, the whole thing will fall apart. It's banging on the concrete barricade.
Sweating over the steering wheel.
Yes. Inspired action, however, feels completely different. When you do the work in Framework 2, when you genuinely hold the feeling of the desired outcome and trust the GPS, the actions you need to take in Framework 1 will arise naturally.
Arise naturally, like as intuitions or hunches.
Yes. Sudden urges. You'll feel a sudden, inexplicable urge to go to a specific coffee shop or to email a specific person.
So you still have to physically walk to the coffee shop or type the email?
You do. But the action is effortless because it's being guided by the vast calculations of Framework 2.
You're riding the wave instead of trying to generate the ocean.
Exactly.
And I know we have a perfect historical example of this because Jane Roberts, the author who was actually channeling all of these profound Seth concepts, she had to live them.
She really did. She wasn't just sitting on a mountaintop.
Right. She wasn't an untouchable guru floating on a cloud. She was a working writer in the 1970s. She had a mortgage. She had her husband, Rob, who was a painter, and they dealt with very real, very stressful human challenges.
She was deeply embedded in the realities of Framework 1, and she had to actively learn how to apply these concepts to survive and thrive creatively.
There is a deeply illustrative narrative in her personal notes regarding a time when she needed a new publisher for her book of poetry.
Ah, yes, If We Live Again.
Yeah, that's the one. For any writer listening, you know that the typical Framework 1 approach to finding a publisher is pure, exhausting hustle.
It's the worst. It's frantically printing out manuscripts, obsessively checking the mail, stressing over every single form rejection letter.
And constantly agonizing over how it's going to happen. You just grip the steering wheel until your knuckles are white.
And Jane was incredibly tempted by that exact panic. But she deliberately chose to experiment with what the Seth material calls the magical approach.
The magical approach, which is essentially the practical, lived application of trusting Framework 2.
Exactly. Rather than forcing the issue in the physical world, Jane sat quietly in her living room. She generated the profound internal feeling of satisfaction.
Notice you didn't say she visualized the specific details.
Right? She didn't visualize a specific editor signing a specific contract. She allowed herself to feel the somatic, bodily sensation of having her work recognized, respected, and successfully published.
She did the heavy lifting in the mental studio.
She imbued her desire with emotional conviction. And then, crucially, she dropped it.
Dropped it, meaning she stopped worrying about it entirely.
She completely withdrew her conscious anxiety from the subject. She didn't keep opening the oven door every 5 minutes to see if the cake was baking.
Which just lets all the heat out anyway.
Exactly. She trusted the inner matrix of Framework 2 to handle the logistics, the networking, and the timeline.
I was reading Rob's notes from this period, and the outcomes are staggering.
Yeah.
By stepping completely out of the way of the how, the physical reality just began to rearrange itself around her.
It really did. Opportunities naturally bled into her life. Unexpected contacts reached out.
There were serendipitous meetings with editors that she couldn't have possibly orchestrated on her own with 100 cold emails.
Right. She only took action when it felt undeniably inspired. She followed those hunches, which are essentially the communication lines from Framework 2 bleeding into the conscious awareness of Framework 1.
It's just wild. Her creative and financial life entirely transformed, not because she worked harder in the physical sense, but because she surrendered the organizational burden to the system that was actually designed to handle it.
Which is such a relief to think about.
Okay, so Jerry did this instinctively, or at least she developed the discipline for it over time. But my brain is aggressively wired to panic.
Oh, same. It's a human condition.
If I try to just drop it, I'm going to be thinking about the fact that I dropped it every 5 seconds. I'll be monitoring my own letting go, which is just another form of control.
Yes. Trying to control the letting go. Telling the human ego to simply let go of something it deeply desires or fears is functionally impossible.
It really is. The ego perceives letting go as a threat to its survival.
So we have to bypass it entirely. And that brings us to the exact actionable technique, derived from these teachings. We call it the Pebble Drop.
Ah, the Pebble Drop. This is the tool for engaging the GPS. Get your mental notepads ready, everyone.
The Pebble Drop is a highly specific, controlled exercise designed to disarm the ego's anxiety and directly interface with the creative matrix of Framework 2. Here is the step-by-step guide. Step 1. Choose. Pick one small desire.
I feel like the word small is carrying a lot of weight there. Why do we have to start small?
Because if you pick your most terrifying financial crisis or a severe health diagnosis, your ego will completely block the process with a wall of terror.
The emotional charge is just too high.
Way too high. You need to prove to your physical brain that this mechanism works before you ask it to trust the system with your survival.
So we're building a new neural pathway almost.
Exactly. So pick something you would like to experience, but something you are not desperate about. Finding a great parking spot in a crowded lot, receiving a random compliment from a stranger, or having a small, unexpected creative idea for a hobby.
Something that has very low emotional stakes, but would still be undeniably delightful if it happened.
Right. Step 2. Sit and feel. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and sit quietly for just 60 seconds.
Just a minute.
During this minute, you are going to marinate entirely in the feeling of the desire already being fulfilled. Notice I didn't say to look for the desire in the future.
You must feel it as a present, accomplished physical fact.
Yes. Feel the satisfaction, the ease, the subtle, genuine physical smile it brings to your face.
And here's step 3, which is going to be the hardest part for anyone who loves a spreadsheet.
Oh, definitely.
No micromanaging. As you hold this feeling, you must not visualize the how-to details.
This cannot be overstated. If you want a compliment, do not visualize your boss saying it in the hallway at 2-3 p.m. using specific adjectives.
Because if you dictate the details, you are dragging the infinite probabilities of Framework 2 back into the tiny, rigid limitations of Framework 1.
You are boxing in the universe. You are telling the GPS that there's only one valid route, even if that route is currently blocked.
Right. Just hold the pure, distilled end result feeling of satisfaction.
Leave the logistics to the studio. Let the GPS calculate the route.
Okay, so we're feeling it. We aren't micromanaging. What's next?
Now, step 4, the drop. Mentally imagine taking that condensed feeling of satisfaction, that 60 seconds of pure, fulfilled emotion, and imagine dropping it like a smooth, heavy pebble into the center of a vast, incredibly calm pond.
And this infinite pond is Framework 2.
Exactly. In your mind's eye, watch the pebble break the surface. Watch the ripples spread outward, traveling across the surface of the water, expanding infinitely in all directions.
And then step 5, the make or break step.
Release. Let it go entirely. Get up from your chair, open your eyes, and immediately engage your conscious mind in a completely different Framework 1 activity.
Go make a sandwich. Answer an email. Go for a walk.
Yes. Do not check on the pebble. Do not constantly look over your shoulder, waiting for the manifestation to tap you on the shoulder. Trust the medium. Drop it like a pebble into Framework 2. The ripples will reach every shore they need to reach.
When you really visualize that, the ripples reaching shores you can't even see, it is profoundly liberating.
It really is.
It actively disarms my exhausting need to figure everything out. The ego is a wonderful tool for navigating daily reality. It's great at balancing a checkbook or looking both ways before crossing the street.
But it is a terrible master builder.
Terrible. It doesn't have the mathematical capacity to orchestrate the universe. The Pebble Drop takes the heavy lifting and assigns it to the exact system uniquely designed to handle infinite variables.
It allows you to return to the joy of being the experiencer rather than the exhausted micromanager of your own reality. But, as Seth frequently points out, knowledge is entirely useless until it is applied in physical reality.
Right, reading about Framework 2 will not change your life. Operating within it will.
So we have a challenge for you. A strict 24-hour homework assignment.
I love a good homework assignment.
Sometime today, we want you to perform the Pebble Drop with just one small desire. Pick that low-stakes goal. Spend exactly 60 seconds feeling it as a done deal.
Mentally drop that smooth pebble into the vast pond of Framework 2. Watch the ripples.
And then completely and utterly release it for the next 24 hours. Let it go.
Obviously, we want you to notice what physical manifestations occur. Keep an eye out for those serendipitous moments, the sudden hunches, the unexpected texts.
But I want to stress that the true goal of this exercise isn't just acquiring the parking spot or the compliment.
The real exercise is entirely internal. We want you to notice how it physically feels in your body, to actively choose trust over force.
Pay attention to your somatic response. Notice the distinct physical relief, The literal unclenching of your jaw, the dropping of your shoulders, that naturally occurs when you stop trying to manually move the concrete barricades.
Notice the profound psychological piece of knowing the studio is handling the production.
Exactly. It's a piece that you can cultivate.
Reflecting on all of this, the mechanics of the lag time, the GPS analogy, Jane's poetry book, I am walking away with a profound new sense of ease.
It's a huge weight off the shoulders.
It really is. It is incredibly liberating to realize on a visceral level that I don't have to make everything happen on my own. I don't have to push the river. Framework 2 is always working in the background, whether I am consciously aware of it or not.
The energetic support is mathematically always there.
Such an amazing realization.
Next time, the final episode of Arc 2, Level 1, we explore value fulfillment, the deepest impulse of all consciousness, and we'll learn how your unique joy is the compass pointing toward your most expansive life.
As you go about your day-to-day and as you try your Pebble Drop experiment, we want to leave you with one last lingering thought to mull over. When you feel frustrated by the pace of your life, remember the mechanics of translation.
Remember the delay.
Right. What if the delay you are experiencing in your life right now isn't a denial of your desire? What if it's simply Framework 2 taking the necessary time to calculate the probabilities, coordinate the atoms, and gather the perfect ripples to bring your manifestation to the shore?
What if everything is already working out perfectly in the invisible world?